Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Steven Universe episode review. This one's going to be for Season 4, Episode 6, last one out of Beach City. This was a very fun, very enjoyable episode. Obviously it doesn't have a ton of depth to it, I don't think, so I don't think this is going to be a particularly long review, but as a Pearl focused episode that got into some pretty important character development. Not crazy important, but that's a little thing that I'm glad they kind of touched on. Plus solid Amethyst Pearl interactions, which we've been waiting for a while. Usually they tend to argue. I like that this was more of a bringing those two characters together, who are usually relatively opposite. Steven, not really a focus in this episode, but played his role quite nicely. Introduction of a new mystery girl character, and then what they did with the episode was quite fun. You had a car chase, and a little bit of kind of romance stuff as well. So let's get into it. So the main thing that this episode covered was obviously the idea that Pearl, they've never really overly emphasized it within the show. It is just something that, going into this episode, I was actually kind of thinking that really Pearl is one of the only characters who hasn't really had many episodes focusing on humans. So with Garnet, we've obviously had the postman guy, I can't remember his name, who sends her letters and really likes her. So she you see her walking around a little bit more often in the city compared to Pearl. She seems okay with interacting with humans. There's no problem there. Amethyst, born on Earth, gets very involved in this sort of stuff, even though she's still quite inexperienced with a lot of that stuff. Pearl, though, on the other hand, outside of Steven and Greg and Connie, we really haven't seen her interact with just the other Beach City characters. So it was actually nice to just have an episode where she's kind of aware of that fact, wants to make a change, wants to kind of become better and actually interact with other humans. And so tries really hard in this episode to obviously make amends for the fact that Greg couldn't go with Amethyst to this kind of rock party thing, and kind of wants to go there, show that she's cool, and get some personal development. And I like that because it showed a couple of different things. She wants to sort of break it a little bit, the way a lot of people see her as just the one who's not overly fun, would prefer making a jigsaw puzzle in the house compared to actually going out. Break the whole mold of the idea that she doesn't really interact with other humans, and just kind of change the way people perceive her in general. And then just the fact that she kind of does a lot of this for Amethyst is kind of notable, in that yes, she does it for herself, but she also does do it so that Amethyst can actually go to this thing. It's to the point where the episode is so focused on Pearl, you kind of almost wish they would have focused a bit more on Amethyst. But I like that kind of by the end of the episode they give them all the kind of little, they give them all the little kind of titles, Pearl is as the repressed nerd or something like that. Amethyst is ultimate wingman, and then Steven is the voice of reason, and then mysterious girl. That once we got into the episode, Amethyst was almost more interested in just Pearl trying all of this out than she was in the actual party itself. Hence why, once they got there, the focus wasn't even on the kind of music, really. It was just on what Pearl was going to do in relation to this girl. And for the most part, Amethyst is kind of, playing kind of Pearl's wingman with this girl. And it was interesting to see the show kind of really just approach this kind of in the most kind of most clear-cut fashion they have up to now, and that there's always been the thing of just okay, all of the gems are, very kind of, female in form. It's very clear that that's the case. And because of that, a lot of these relationships, you would consider them, basically gay, lesbian relationships between the gems. But because gems are just automatically like that, you often see people bring up the idea they're rocks, they don't have a sex or anything like that, so there's no, it's not as amazing as we think it is. But just the idea that even though Pearl still is a gem. This girl very clearly is a gay character, and that was just kind of like, that's an interesting way to do it, in that very clearly this girl is not meant to be our main character, but just the fact that Pearl immediately develops an attraction, crush on this girl with pink hair, and by the end of the episode that girl has given Pearl her number, that just tells you, the fact that she is gay, and it's just like, wow, that's a really nice way to do that. And ultimately you're kind of wondering, like, are they gonna go anywhere with this? I assume this character will come back. The fact that they didn't name her was kind of interesting. Setting up the idea of like the phone number at the end is, to me, feels like it will be something we return back to. Now, how far will they go with it? Will this just be that Pearl has another character, another human character she interacts with? Will we potentially go as far as to have some sort of a actual relationship between Pearl and this character? We didn't get to see the full conversation, but by the way Pearl said she talked to her, she was talking about kind of gem stuff almost, and the girl seemed to just take it as kind of Pearl being a little bit weird and like that. I think a lot of people are maybe thinking, like, could we see a point where this character is introduced and we maybe see Pearl fuse with a human? Because if Steven can do it, do we know for absolute sure that normal gems can fuse with humans? The whole Greg Rose thing kind of seemed to hint not, but even if there's no fusion kind of potential there, just the idea of this character returning every so often as a character for Pearl to interact with, that's not a member of the main cast, is an interesting idea. Now, ultimately, this character, do you get that big of an impression about her personality-wise? Not especially. Interesting design, and the implied stuff that, like she feels about the way Pearl talked to her and stuff like that seems interesting. But other than that, they weren't really trying to, like, develop that character in particular. It was more of a Pearl-focused episode, as I said, but just, a very successful Pearl episode. The fact that it ends with, Pearl getting her number was, it was kind of fun to just see Pearl not know what that means. She thought it was a failure. Like, she gave me this code and just left. And then Steven and Amethyst are like, oh my god, you got her number, and it's a big deal. So, yeah, very fun. Earlier on in the episode, Pearl was also really fun. When she put the leather jacket on and was really forcing, trying to act cool. It was kind of working a little bit, like the whole comment she made about the collar, it's not the way it's meant to be, so it's cool. And then she says, I'm going to try a drink for the first time, and then she really heavily struggles to open the can, but eventually does, and isn't used to drinking, so it's a bit of a weird reaction. Then immediately the coolness goes away during the first awkward interaction with the girl, and I think one of the best things with this episode was that it was really fun to just see Pearl be so awkward because she has a crush on this girl. See her like panic when she's riding the motorbike right next to her, and just like she looks at her and just blushes basically. And then some other more confident points where like she takes off the clothes and is just like, no, I'm going to be more myself, and I may not like. You say I'm a criminal now, but I've actually been a criminal for like 6,000 years, because she's obviously been known for a long time as what was it, like Rose's like renegade Pearl or something like that. So she kind of uses the fact that, yeah, I do have these kind of cool things to me. I am awesome. The other part of the episode was another episode where we get a kind of car chase. So that's like 2 within the last 10, 15 or so episodes. This was a complete police chase, and this is where Steven, I think, was very interesting, in that he was just like, oh my god, we need to pull over right now, and Pearl just guns it, not knowing what to do, and Steven is just getting more and more like, we are going to get in so much trouble here, and Pearl is just kind of losing it. But she eventually shows that she's a really good driver and parks the car, evades the police, and kind of they go on. So, yeah, I'm going to end the pretty much end the video there. Good episode. I suppose at this stage of the series, like I said about Future Boy as Zoltron, you could be critical of like where's the plot gone? The last two episodes. Like, we're at this certain point in the series where I feel like not in any way attempting to address the plot, the main big character arcs of the characters, sort of needs a better explanation other than just, nah, we're doing a party this time. It needs more than just, we have a fun idea for a script, let's completely forget about logically where the series is going and take it down this other path. We're approaching the middle of season 4. We only know of 5 confirmed seasons. We need to get to the big stuff eventually, and as I said, there was nothing inherently wrong with this episode. I thought it was much better than Future Boy Zoltron because Pearl's a character we really know and care about, and they had some good development versus Mr. Smiley is a character we barely care about, and then we learned something not overly notable about him. And that's the difference between last episode and this episode, both not being particularly plot focused, one being clearly better because it was, I think, an overall better episode, and more importantly, it's about a character we care about, not a character we don't really know that much about. So yeah, gonna end the video there. Links to my Twitter and Tumblr if you want to follow me on social media are in the description. If you want to support my channel so you can help me make more videos, better videos, links to my Patreon page and a PayPal donation link are in the description below as well. And then finally, I'll just end by saying, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on the episode, your thoughts on my review. Thanks for watching, and bye.